And there we go. Welcome to Tell Me Something Good About Retail. My name is Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. Today I'm speaking with Josh Orr. He's the founder of Capital Commerce and the host of the Retail Initiative podcast. Welcome, Josh.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Bob.
Right thing to say as we start. So, listen, we met at the Management One Summit in June.
Mhm.
And what were you doing there?
Yeah, so we've been working in the Management One world for a long time because our agency works with brick-and-mortar retailers that are wanting to grow their online sales. Just like you, they work with a ton of great brick-and-mortar retailers. So we were connecting with their experts and their consultants and all of that. It's a great way for us to serve our market by connecting with the people already serving them.
I love it. And your social media handle is Retail Josh. It
That's
sounds so
right.
friendly, and yet you're so technical. How did you choose that?
How did I choose Retail Josh? I've been in retail literally my entire life. I've only ever worked, like my company's only ever served retailers. So it just made sense. Retail Josh. I kind of regret it, to be honest. I wish I could go back and make it just my name, but here we are. It's Retail Josh. So if you don't follow me, give me a follow on Instagram at Retail Josh.
I love that. I love that. So let's go all the way back. You've been your whole life in retail.
Mhm.
So as a small child and a little nappy, you were overpricing something on the shelf. Is that it?
No, I was I'm a millennial, so I grew up in the era where, and I had to work in high school. That was kind of
Wow,
my
and he
parents.
brags about that. Go ahead. Yeah.
That
So
was
you
my
had to work.
parents' deal, and I did what kids my age did, which is when you have to get a job, you go to the mall and you walk from store to store applying. And so I got my first job selling shoes,
Dude,
and yeah, it was
we
a
share
ton of
that.
fun.
Yes. What were you selling?
Uh, I worked at the Finish Line, which was my very first retail job. So it was like athletic shoes. What was a ton of fun was I was working there when like the Air Force One and all of these things. It was kind of like the beginning of sneakerhead culture of like Nike withholding inventory to purposely make things rare. That's what was going on. So it was a lot of fun to witness firsthand the beginning of sneakerhead stuff that now is just normal, but before that it really wasn't.
And then you moved on to Victoria's Secret, Kohl's, where? What else did you do?
Funny enough, in college, I worked at Women's Express. I went and applied at the Men's Express, and they were like, "Well, we don't have a job, but if you want to work in women's, we can put you there." And for like 2 years, I was the number one salesperson because I flirted the whole time, and so I ended up being really good at what I did in women's fashion.
I want to just put a pin in that for a minute, my friend, because I honestly do believe the best salespeople do flirt, right? There's this
Mhm.
familiarity that you innately can bring up into the conversation. And with guys, it's a little more banter. You can cut each other down a little bit, right? But with
Mhm.
a woman, it's a little different. But the reality comes down to that confidence is what brings people to you, right?
Absolutely. And, because I ended up being really good at and I still am today. I could dress my wife better than I can dress myself. I work a ton in women's fashion, and when I could put an outfit together, they try it on and I just say, "You look awesome in that." When that came from a male saying, "Hey, you look amazing," that confidence booster was huge. And I think when it came from a female, they thought, "Oh, they're supposed to say that." But when it came from me, I think it came across a lot more genuine. And so I very much, even though I was young, I knew what I was doing in that process. So it wasn't just like some kid trying to flirt with girls, it was sales. And
Yeah,
I
no,
wasn't.
let's again unpack that because you knew exactly what you were doing, and don't
Mhm.
confuse it with the guy that worked at my store one time, and a woman came by the mall. He's like, "Hey, can I count the stripes on your dress?" He was like, "Dude, that is like really not appropriate for any number of things." But the whole point is, it isn't. I mean, that may happen, right? But the point is, meaning that may happen that guys flirt with girls and vice versa. Yeah, but that you understood this is what it takes to do the job.
Absolutely. It was so much fun.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So where do you go from there then? So there you are. You're now a sneakerhead. You're now going on. You've gone into Women's Express.
Well,
What's
so
the change?
we can flash forward several years because I finished school, I do some different pieces, and then I end up doing a lot of stuff in the point of sale world. So I was like a point of sale reseller, doing that whole deal. And so what was really fun there was getting to get behind the scenes of, honestly, over the course of years, hundreds of retail businesses, and seeing like, okay, this is what works, this is what doesn't. And, so at first I was just training on a software, but over time it became like, I was like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to operate your business. And then we're just going to use this tool as a means to an end to do that. So we start doing that. And then again, over time, now we're at like 2014, 2015, e-commerce starts to come up in the conversation a lot. And my clients are like, okay, well, we have this new system. We're really wanting to go online. Can you help us? And I had this guy that kept sending me his design clients, where he was sending them to me to help with point of sale. And I was like, hey, dude, do you want to like do this thing together and
Wow.
partner? And so we started doing both. And over time, we were like, hey, this point of sale thing, let's be real, no one loves their point of sale. Like, that's just not a thing that people are obsessed with, even if it's a good one. Even if it's a good one, no one's like excited about it. I loved that on the e-commerce side of things, people were excited. I was actually getting to produce sales for people. And so we went all in on that, but exclusively for brick and mortar retailers.
Okay, so tell me, what's the biggest misconception that you think retailers have about implementing new technologies? Because let's face it, a lot of retailers have jury-rigged the car with so many jumpers over here, and oh, this doesn't work this way. You gotta touch it 3 times, and then it spits something out. Right? They're all hardwired from all kinds of systems,
Mm.
usually to save money or something else, or worse. I was talking to somebody today, and they were still using their open to buy with Excel spreadsheets. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? The 70s? So
Yeah.
I guess I gave away my point of view on that, but what's yours?
So when it comes to the e-commerce side of things, so I'll speak to that because I think that their technology comes up so much. Is the mistake or the misconception that I think we get is that we start with technology. We start thinking about software. We start thinking about tools and apps and all these different pieces. And instead, what we don't think about is e-commerce is another sales channel. It is a way that your customers engage with your brand and that you can show up and serve them. But what a lot of us end up doing is we build this incredible in-store experience. You're really smart and you invested in an awesome sales training for your team. If you know anyone that does one of those, let me know. But you invested in this awesome sales training for your team, but we then go online and we just start selling a bunch of products. We get all the right technology, all the right things, and we don't really think, well, what is the experience like in this side of the business? Because we started with technology. And so instead, I love to back into technology, say, okay, what do we want the experience to look like? And then now what tools are going to make that the easiest?
So, that's a great point because an example I use in some of my speeches is, if I am online and let's say I'm looking for baby carriers and I'm like page 458, right? And suddenly you see a green jacket. I'm like, what the hell is that doing there? But then you're in a retail store and you're looking at it and then you see like a green jacket. Hey, I might try that on. And that whole discovery aspect is gone in most online and most personality because we've had AI. Oh, AI can write all of our descriptions now. Like, that's not going to be any different. And what
Mhm.
caught my eye when we met just a couple months ago, my friend, was the pictures that you use and the brand personalities come across
Mhm.
really well. And is that part of your conversion clinic? I have this in my notes that you have a conversion clinic with like 8 conversion killers. Is that sameness? Is that a big killer?
Photography and creative is massive. When you think about a store experience, when you walk into a store, what's the goal of that first, let's say 3 to 5 seconds when someone walks in the door? It is not for you just to start talking about yourself. You don't start telling them the history of your brand. You don't start asking them to join your email newsletter. You're not doing any of those pieces. Your job is you want them to feel like they're in the right place.
And
You
to
want them
linger.
to feel like you really are going to be able to solve their problem. And so online, what do most of us do? We make our logo really big. We put something like "Welcome to Josh's Boutique," and then we then put in about us, where I talk about like my childhood dream of opening a store, and it's me, me, me as I scroll through the page. So instead, like what we want to think about is what would make my customer feel understood by what we're trying to do online. Not them understand me, not them understand my brand, but them feel like my brand actually gets them. One of the lowest hanging fruit, easiest ways to do that is simply through photography. When they land on a site and they see images that have people that they resonate with or aspire to be like, they land there and like, yeah, this is clearly for people like me. And so photography and creative is a huge piece. It's not the only piece, but it is an important one. And a lot of times where we go wrong with it is like, we think that we can just throw a website up and go grab all these vendor images. Well, that's not going to feel like your brand. That would be like letting every vendor come in and merchandise your store. You would never do that. Yet we do that online all the time.
That's interesting because I think a lot of retailers wouldn't mind a vendor going and doing all the re-merchandising. Like, great, make that happen. Uh, and to your point, um, I agree with you, but how many people have sat down to really say, what is our brand? Right? It's easy to say, like,
Mhm.
that's always a scary part when I do a business makeover, Josh. And by the way, I do retail sales training, which he alluded to earlier. So if you're driving the car, you want to go back to salesrx.com when you get home and find out more about that. But, and retail Josh on Instagram. But the thing is that we haven't really thought about those. Who am I? What am I? I say, oh, everyone's my customer, and you're like, no, not everyone's your customer, dude. Like,
Mhm.
and when they really have to start thinking about who is my target, and you say, oh, okay, it's a 30 to 45-year-old woman. She's driving a Chevy. She doesn't like to be pretentious. She might drive a Subaru. She's sensible, but she likes to splurge. Anything that you can give a web designer to go like, I got her, right? Versus
Mhm.
it's middle-aged women, millennials who work from home. Call center, is that what they are? Well, no, right? So those
Uh-huh.
questions that you answer, and this is a great thing, honestly, for AI, like Claude or ChatGPT. Just start vomiting all what you think your target market is, and then say condenses. And then you should be able to say, when you read those words, that's my customer. And now you go back to a guy like you, Josh, and say, this is what I got to work with. And now you can be creative. I don't think you can be creative unless you really know what is the target. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, so when we're helping people through it or thinking through it, we always start with two sides. There is the brand, which you started with, of like, who are you? What are the values that drive your brand? What does your brand voice sound like? Like, just how does it communicate? Of course, there's things like the brand visuals. By the way, you'll notice these are all start with V's. And then like, what's the brand vibe? Like, just what's the essence of it? But then there's that relationship that it has with its customer. And I even like to go more specific than you. You said 30 to 45. Well, I'm like, well, a 30-year-old and a 45-year-old are vastly different. And a lot of times, especially for brick and mortar retailers, it's so easy because of our personality. We could make both a 30-year-old and a 45-year-old feel like our brand is for someone like them because we're really good at customer service. And so we're able to accommodate that. But when we go online, what we really want to think about is it really your average 45-year-old, or is she a little more young at heart? Or is it your average 30-year-old, or is she maybe a little bit more mature? So our perfect customer probably is like 35. She's 35, she has 3 kids. Those are just demographic pieces. But I don't like to stop at demographic stuff. Because like one of the really funny things, demographically, King Charles and Ozzy Osbourne are identical. They both live in England. They're both filthy rich. They all these things, yet
Then they
with a
could buy anything I sell, right? They could buy anything I sell, right, Josh?
correct. But demographically, they are the same. But would you say that a store that Ozzy Osbourne likes and a store that King Charles likes are remotely the same?
No.
Night and day different. So we want to then start to get a little bit deeper. And I love getting into like touchy feely stuff. Like, what are their hopes and fears? What are their like short-term goals? What are they going to do Friday night? Like, are they going to go out with their spouse? Are they doing a girls' night or
Who
a guys'
knows?
night?
How am I supposed to know this, Josh? I'm just sitting here in Pocatello, Idaho. I got a little gift store with clown soap and dog sheets for pet beds, and I haven't given any thought to it. It was my passion, so I just put this store together, and
Mhm.
now everybody's telling me I have to do omni-channel, right?
Sort of. So, well, those are two different things. Should we go omni-channel and then the perfect customer? Most retailers I talk to actually have their perfect customer way more dialed in than they realize. They tend to just not know the words to put to it. They are great at it. Their buying is so on point. I think a lot of times we just get scared to say, my perfect customer is not a 70-year-old. My perfect customer is not a 20-year-old. She's 35. But what's amazing about it is when we go all in on that, how many 65-year-olds do we know that if they landed on a website or walked into a store built for 65-year-olds, they're going to say like, that's not for me. I'm younger than them. That's not who I am at all. And they're going to land on a site built for a 35-year-old or walk into a store that targets that and say, this is for me. This is absolutely for people like me.
I love that whole idea of knowing this is for me. It's there's a mantra that I try to use when I do outreach, and it's "Show me you know me." So in
Mhm,
the subject line, like with you, if I was writing an outreach to you and I didn't even know you, but I might say that retail Josh and retail Doc and Texas question mark or something, and at least I know that there's something there that guy knows about me, right? Or
mhm,
management one or something. And yet when we go online, the big push was, oh my gosh, Google's getting rid of cookies. And now it's like, oh no, they're not going to get rid of cookies because that's how they make money.
mhm.
So how can we personalize that, Josh, when it really gets down to it? I mean, so I know who this customer mine roughly is with you. And how do give me a story about somebody who did this and the change they made? How's that?
Yeah, I mean, so an easy example, when we talk to people, a lot of the conversation. So I could tell you about a client we had. Her name is Julie, and she had an amazing storefront. Like I want to say they had been in business for like 3 or 4 years. I want to say they were like 1.5 million in revenue in store, and she had been doing all the things to grow her online sales. She had hired a few team members, like that unicorn e-commerce person. I think we all think like, go grow this thing for me. She had done that. She had hired professional photographers, got a fancy site redesign, like just all the things. And when we dug into like, okay, let's get into your customer, let's get into your brand, we saw this massive disconnect. And so simply like one of the massive things that we had her do was, hey, could you get a model that's just a tad older? The model that you have right now is clearly like 22, 23 years old. Your customer is in her 30s. They're not going to resonate at all. And simply by aging the model up a little bit, her customer now landed on her site and resonated. And I think that is, if we talk about like key needle movers, you don't need the fancy website, you don't need all these other pieces. If someone lands on your site and can resonate with who they see, that is a massive thing. Like that's where they're going to stick. They're not going to click that back button, which is stealing more sales than anything that Amazon or Shein or any of those brands could do. That back button's hurting you worse than any of it. And so that's the simple kind of things that I love to help people with.
All right, I have to write that down. Can you repeat that one more time? Because I think it was so great. That back button is costing you more sales than any other online site or anything else.
Absolutely.
I think that is remarkable. Um, and yet, uh, being able to see that. So, are you always? And I don't want to get too deep, but if you're driving and you're listening to this, you're like, it's getting pretty deep in the weeds, Bob. But I think it comes down to um, how much work front end we have to do, and just look for what causes somebody to go back. And you're
Mhm.
saying it's it's simpler than anything. It's somebody saying that's not for me.
Absolutely. It's a very, very simple, like, this is something that happens in the back of our head, like, in a half of a second. We land on a website. It's the equivalent of, like, when someone walks into your storefront, and I think we've all experienced this if you've been in retail, especially if you're in a tourist area. Someone walks in the door, and what do? They look around, and then they just turn. Like, there was no they didn't even give you the chance to have that exchange. That happens all the time, even faster online. And a lot of times what people don't know is, like, that kind of thing is not just hurting your sales, like, that hurts your SEO, that hurts the other things that would drive traffic. And we don't have to get, like, too in the weeds on that, but when our site doesn't answer that core question, is this for people like me? It has a bigger impact than we realize. And so answering that question so quickly is really, like, top needle mover when it comes to increasing online sales.
That's amazing. Now I know you're doing some kind of a event in September called Manifest.
Uh-huh.
What are you covering in Manifest?
Yeah, I mean, so Manifest is a in-person event that I do with my friend Tara Austin. She owns a store called Ruthie Grace Boutique. Honestly, they crush it online. It's ridiculous, the things that she does. And so we started teaching an intensive several years ago, started putting on an in-person event. And so it is a in-person workshop. To be honest, it's mostly women's fashion retailers, tends to be the majority of our people. But we teach strategies around growing online sales. My favorite part is it's a pretty high caliber room. Like, I think we've all attended retail events where, you have a guy doing 10 million a year sitting next to someone who's like, what's a UPC? And, you have those, and at the end of the day, they both would be better served if they were kind of in crowds that are a little bit more their audiences, or a little bit more their business size. And so it's fun that, like, we kind of have a high caliber room in that.
Nice, nice. So, what do you see? All we keep hearing about is AI is going to change everything. I know when I was working at IBM many years ago, they talked about how they already had the ability with Watson that I think it was REI was using this. So you went to their site, let's say, and it's supposed to be raining, and all of the pictures have changed to become things that are about the weather, or it knows
Oh,
that
wow.
you like purple, and so the models tend to be in purple. This is many years ago, so we know that that might have been trials, but that whole personalization is going to be on steroids because the
Mm.
more you can, and I don't know that Amazon isn't already doing this, but if I could buy the data from Amazon, that I could connect the dots to my own shopper information and make intelligent choices. We're not far past that with AI. And do you see how that might revolutionize what you're trying to do?
Sure. I mean, we're always open and learning new pieces. And so typically the way I like to see that stuff is, first, like, are we covering our basics? Like, I don't like getting caught in all of the, ninja pieces of the future if we don't have these basics covered yet. And so, do I think that AI and some of these personalization things will absolutely be, like, they will probably be in that list of foundations several years from now? And so I think the best thing that we could probably do is start to look at, okay, like, am I covering my basics? Am I covering the essential things that I need to be doing online? And to be clear, I guess, like, what I mean by that is, I love talking about in-store experiences, and then saying, okay, what does it look like to bring that kind of experience online? Because I think there is this misconception that we can't serve people as well as we do in our storefront, as we do, like, we can't do that as well online, that's just impossible. And there it's like, okay, well, first we have to acknowledge that they're different. It's not a tit for tat thing, meaning, someone walks in your door, you're going to start asking good questions to help them land on the right product. Well, that doesn't translate to throwing a chat bot on our website that's going to start asking questions. Why? Because, Bob, like, do you buy things from chatbots? Maybe you do, but most people don't. That's not how we shop.
And
But what we
everyone's got them
can,
now, and we all hate them. I just
we
want to
all
make the
hate
record.
them.
We hate them.
Yeah, and they can serve I think they're great for, like, customer service and that kind of thing. but they're not great for sales. So instead, what I like to think through is like, what kind of question, what was that first question you asked? Someone said they were shopping for dresses. Someone doesn't just grab 4 dresses and be like, okay, here, try these on. But online, what do? We just have that one dresses button and we're showing them everything. Well, there's typically a follow-up question. What
It's the
for?
event,
Like,
right?
yeah,
Exactly.
what's the event? Or is there a link you're comfortable with? Is there a brand you really love? Well, why would we not structure our navigation in a similar way that lets people shop in the exact same way they do in store? So we're starting to think through like, okay, what are these questions I'm asking first? And then what am I asking after that that takes them one layer deeper? And so when we can bring those kind of things into our site navigation, into the way that our page is laid out, we actually can start to serve our customers online in a very similar way to how we do it in store. It's not like a tit for tat thing, but it's a lot closer than I think most of us are doing.
Nice, and it makes it sticky as well. So we're going to take a little break here, but before we do, I want you to be thinking, Josh, about the answer to this question. As the host of the Retail Initiative podcast, what's the most surprising insight you've gained from your guests? And we will be back with that answer in a minute. Before we continue, we love our loyal listeners, so I'd appreciate it if you give me a favor of a 5-star review on your favorite episode of the podcast. And we'll return after this word from Sales RX online retail sales training program. All right, and we're back with Josh Orr. He is the founder of Capital Commerce. So, what is the most surprising insight you've learned from your guests?
Ooh, that's a good one. Um,
Dude, you had a little commercial to think about this.
I did have a whole commercial of approximately 3 seconds to think about this. Um, okay, can we start that over?
Sure. So, hey, Sean, we're gonna start this at like 27 is where we'll pick up. So we'll just pick up from the from before and all right,
Sorry.
and we are back with Josh Orr, founder of Capital Commerce, and I asked him that intriguing question as the host of the Retail Initiative podcast. What's the most surprising insight you've gained from your guests? And now Josh is going to give us the perfect answer.
Perfect answer. Look, I would love like a lower expectation threshold. That really helps me because then
Perfect.
I can over deliver and just wow everybody. I was interviewing a guest. Her name is Jinsey Wallace. She owns a store called Jinsey's, which is in like a one stoplight town in the middle of Georgia. When I say one stoplight, I've zoomed in on the map. It's literally one stoplight. And what's fascinating is the more I dug into her story, she is crushing it. One perfect customer, doesn't go outside of it. And her store experience is unbelievable. And so the insight though is I've talked to so many retailers. I probably talked to, I don't know, 300 something retailers a year. A lot of those are in small towns. And I hear all the time, we've probably grown sales as much as we can in store. That's typically the reason they're giving me for why they need to go online. We've grown sales as much as we can in store. And what was amazing from Jinsey was like her store sales have grown. I mean, it's ridiculous what she's doing in this itty bitty town serving one perfect customer. And how she did this was through the right sales training. So she was able to take her team through a process to learn like, how do we actually not just like sell more? It wasn't about selling more, but she was able to really guide her customers to what fully solved their problem, to what really helped them for what people came to her brand for. And so seeing the potential that a store can have in these really small towns
Mhm.
was unbelievable. Because I think there is this belief that just because you're in a small town, the only way you're going to make it is by going online. And I don't think, despite being the e-com guy, I don't think that's true, and I probably talk more people out of e-commerce than I talk people into it because of that. So that's probably my favorite insight of the last several guests that I've had.
Okay.
Just the potential of brick and mortar retail, even in places like small towns
Nice.
in this economy.
In any economy, right? I mean, let's face
Yeah,
it, the reality is more people want to go and experience other people. And, I always think that ecom is a great extension of your brand. I think a lot of um, D2C vendors have come back into brick and mortar, and they're kind of floundering because they don't know what that experience is. Whereas I think if you understand that personalization, you understand the thrill of
Mm.
discovery, you understand that, then it's interesting. I was thinking about you with your talking about could they select it. So let's say they went to dresses, and do you want to look more professional? You want to look more grandmotherly? Do you want to look more younger? Do you want to look slutty? Whatever. You could have fun with it if that was your brand, right? That's the whole
Yeah.
point. And then you would go like, oh, thanks, that made it easy for me,
Hmm.
instead of what we're running into with a lot of department stores in particular and other boutiques. We walk in and it's just a bunch of merchandise screaming at us, buy me, buy me, buy me. Even worse, do you think of the pharmacies that have a million yellow sale tags on them all over the place? And that's the same thing you start off by saying when I go to a website. What's the first thing you do? Oh, you want to see 10% off on your order right away? Enter your information. No thanks. I'll take it without a discount. Like, I'm a loser. And it's just like, who wrote the branding on this, right? So when we go through and think about how to energize it, I think you have to understand that it could be a different experience, but not to throw in the towel and go, there's no way I could do anything. It's to try to be as personal, and your people, if they see it's them, will resonate, right? I mean, that's
Absolutely.
like with hot topics, not my market, but if I'm in their target market, I'm going to say that's a store for me. So we're going to switch topics here a little bit. What's your favorite thing to do in the world?
Ooh, so the right answer that I'm supposed to give is like I love being a dad. It's a ton of fun. I love my wife. I love like because I have little kids. Like my kids are 8, 6, and 4, and so I'm like in it. That is such a fun era to be in, and I love that. Um, the other answer, if I could just live at an all inclusive in Cancun and have a book and a margarita, I'm the happiest man in the world. So you're gonna get both answers.
Because your
Tequila.
wife is going to be listening to this. Very, very important. So that's
She's
good.
with me at the all-inclusive resort, to be clear.
Okay, good note. Good note, my friend. So, what do you think the most underutilized ecom tool might be for somebody who is listening to this? What's the most underutilized? Like, it's not even go out and spend a lot of money. What might be something that's just nobody thought about it, or where we just take it as like, oh, it has to be this.
I don't know if I would say this is underutilized because I think in the back of our heads, we know the power of email and SMS marketing. But the thing that I think a lot of us get scared of, especially when it comes to online, is what we think about is like Starbucks opening 2 locations right across the street from each other. And we're like, okay, well, if they do that, they're just going to split their sales in half. And not both, like neither store is going to do that well because they're stealing each other's sales. We think that that's what's going to happen with online, that we are going to ultimately take the same customer base and now just split them between these 2 sales channels. The underutilized part is when we can use things like email and SMS marketing to take our in-store shoppers and encourage them to shop online also. So they visited in store. Now what we want to do is have an email that's sent to them like, hey, did you know like you can shop from the comfort of home? You can do X, Y, and Z with our brand online, and we can solve your problems there just like we can in store. You're not downplaying the in-store experience. You're saying we can also serve you here. When we do that, statistically, the lifetime customer value of someone that shops with you through multiple channels, it does not matter what 2 channels they are, but when they shop through 2 or more channels, their lifetime value goes up by 30%. And then, of course, like that's an on average, but that means that if we can get your in-store shoppers also shopping online, your sales go up by 30%, never acquiring a new customer. You're only going to get the customers you had that would have gone in that walked into your doors. So when we can think about how we can use our list to grow these other channels, we actually end up increasing our total volume. That's not even thinking about the fact that our website might gain cold traffic and get new customers. And there, I want to take any local person that shops with me online that has not been in my store, and I want to do the exact opposite. I now want to say, hey, did you know we have this amazing in-store experience? use this code and get 10% off your first in-store visit, because I want to entice them to come visit me there as well. So I think that is a massive underutilized thing, is promoting our other sales channels, because I think we get really nervous about like protecting the main one, that's at least the main one in our mind.
I think that's a great point. And I think a lot of people think that, oh, if I do that, I'm going to be competing with Amazon. It's like, A, you can compete with Amazon. B, if you did a great job that they say, this is my store, this is for me, then they're going to be looking for you online, and they're going to be curious what you look like online,
Mhm.
and that you're open 24/7 online, so that maybe it is something small and I see it and I'm like, oh, yeah, I think I could get that. I don't necessarily have to go
Mhm.
down to the store or whatever. But I think the point that we're all hearing from this is the idea that there's a different world out there. It's not bad. It's not scary. It's not going to eat me alive, but it is going to be able to grow my sales in a way that I don't really have to worry as hard, right? So I think that's important. And all the big boys know this, that if they that's why people are like, why are so many retailers not closing stores? It's real simple. When they close a store, they know online's gonna go down 25% in that trade region. It's
Mhm.
significant, which is
Oh,
why Macy's, some
absolutely.
of these are not closing, and that's kind of important. So do you think there's much concern about privacy online? Do you think that personalization and that infamous story about Target, that the Target sent the card or whatever, like congratulations on the new baby, and the young woman gets it, and I forget, somewhere in Minnesota, and the dad
Mhm.
finds out this is outrageous, and they make Target apologize, and then it was like they were right, but
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
10 years ago. So imagine what that ability is right now. I mean,
For sure. There's always gonna be concern about privacy. I will say, like, Apple's kind of the main one that's moving this. Is Apple has made a marketer's job so much harder. Like 10 years ago, it was the Wild West. Like if you wanted to target someone who was this age, just found out they were pregnant and was in this income level, who was also interested in you too, cool. Like, let's sell your YouTube baby shirt. Like, you could figure out how to do that. I don't know where I got that example from, but
that's
I went as
random, but I like it.
specific as I could get. All that to say, it was so easy. And now, because of Apple, who now has, I think, forced these other companies to follow suit, privacy, it's moved so much. It's moved in a better direction for consumers. That said, it has made marketers' jobs that much harder, which comes back to, we're kind of getting back to what old copywriters, old marketers had to do, which was be really good at calling out their audience, because that ultimately is what effective marketing does. And so, funny enough, like a lot of the best marketing books you can learn from are these 1960s copywriter marketers,
Yeah.
because that stuff still works today. And
And
we
we're
don't get the
human. That's
targeting
what
that
you
we
got to
once did.
remember. It's still a human thing. It's not a technology thing, right?
Absolutely.
Well, listen, we are coming towards the end of our time here together, my friend. Give me one or two questions that you first ask somebody when they're trying to figure out who that target is, or that brand is, or that experience. What would be like one or two questions somebody listening right now could be asking themselves?
Yeah, the first question I want to get into is, what does your brand really do for people? Not just the product that you sell. Forget for a minute that they're buying any product at all. What feeling do you give someone? What problem do you solve, and why is that important to your customer? And really dig into, like, okay, this is the impact that my brand makes on someone. And then now we can start to say, okay, how can we start to do that through these other sales channels? And really focusing on, like, what does my brand do best? And that doesn't have to be this like big grand vision of, how you empower them to do X, Y, and Z, and now they're running a marathon because they bought a pair of shorts from you. It doesn't have to be that. It can be as simple as, hey, if you want to feel really beautiful and you want to do that in a dress, but you're going to walk into the room and just feel confident, we're your place. You could be just amazing at dresses that your customer feels really confident in. That alone is like a superpower. That's a brand competitive advantage. And when we can make those competitive advantages come across in every single sales channel, that's a huge needle mover. And so that typically is one of the first things I want to dig into, is just, what does your brand do really well in store, online, doesn't matter where. And let's make sure that that competitive advantage comes across everywhere.
Which is why you don't use stock photos from your vendors. So,
Absolutely.
as we wrap up, tell me something good about retail. That's the title of my podcast. So go for it, Josh. Tell me something good about retail.
Retail, I love where retail is moving. I really do believe that there has not been a better time to be a retailer than now, because I love online, which, to be clear, I don't think that everyone needs to do it. Like, if you don't want to be online, you have no desire, like, you don't feel scared or feel like some webinar or podcast told you that you had to be doing it. But I think a lot of us do get caught with the how. Like, how am I going to grow online? And so we don't pursue it because we don't know the how. I want to figure out, okay, what's your actual goal? But here's where I'm going with that. 15 years ago, if you really wanted to start these sales channels, that was $150,000, $200,000 investment. Red Dress Boutique, who is a massive boutique, went on Shark Tank to raise money for a website. She was doing that just so she could build this new website experience. That is nuts. Doesn't take that today. The barrier to entry to be good at these things is so much lower than it was in years past. And that means that if you can get good at doing these pieces, you can do the right things in store, merchandise the right way, have the right assortment, have the right sales process, build the right online experience, you can grow to be this massive brand. And I love that. I think we're moving in a direction where, yes, there are more challenges than there were. The economy is a very real thing, but the brands that are figuring it out and they're just doing it anyway are crushing it. And I think they're going to come out of what we're in the middle of 10 times stronger than anybody else. So I'm excited. I love the retail market today. Yeah, it's an exciting time. It really is.
If you're just listening to this, he's smiling like ear to ear here as he's telling us all that. Well, it's been a fascinating conversation today. I really appreciate Josh Orr for stopping by with Capital Commerce, and check out the links below to find out more about him. And you'll hear from me. That was a terrible way to finish this. Sorry, Sean. Yeah. So that pretty much does it for Tell Me Something Good About Retail. Thanks to my guest here today, Josh Orr with Capital Commerce, and follow the links to find out more about him. And I will see you next time on Tell Me Something Good About Retail.
Thanks for having me.